I'm Paulo Del Rosario. Tonight, we've got the UAAP Streetdance champs and the latest from the PVL and the NBA. Buckle up, sports fans. Let's get in the game. Well, after Game 7 of last year's Eastern Conference Finals, Jimmy Butler told everyone that they'd be back in the same situation and they would get it done. The Miami Heat are men of their word and are officially going to the finals all the way from the 8th seed and the play-in. Joining us to break it all down is NBA Hype host, Coach Charles Chu. Charles, it's great to have you back.
Thank you. Glad to be back and be with you here again.
I know, it feels like a throwback in so many ways, but let's focus here on what happened in Game 7. So the Boston Celtics, with all the momentum, it felt like it was one-way traffic from Games 4, 5, 6, and 7. It felt like Boston had the opportunity. It was a home court advantage, raucous crowd to start out with, but the Miami Heat silenced them. What did you make of Game 7?
Well, one positive I saw heading into Game 7 was Jimmy Butler basically guaranteed a win. And, this guy meant business. The only reason why I kind of felt Miami might be able to pull it through was it's not easy to win 4 games in a row in any series. I mean, that's why we don't see that many sweeps. And with a coach like Coach Spo, you figure he'd make the right adjustments. Now, the reason why I was worried for the Heat was because, well, the Celtics winning a game like that in the home court of the opposing team, that's just deflating. And Miami could have easily folded, but hey, I mean, they hit their shots and the Celtics couldn't buy a bucket in this game.
It was the way that they started, rather the way that Game 6 ended, that people thought, all right, maybe the start of Game 7 will tell a lot of things. To be fair, Jason Tatum did get hurt in the very first play of the game, tweaked his ankle, but it really wasn't the reason why they lost this one. They ended up losing by 20 or so points. Why do you think the Miami Heat came out and just basically slapped them offensively? Talking about the Boston Celtics.
Well, I think the Celtics really struggle when they're not in transition. I mean, they're a great transition team, but when the defense in the game kind of slows down in half court, that's where their challenges are. And then you have Tatum, who, as you said, got hurt. Didn't really have the same lift or elevation that he usually had. Their half-court offense just really was stifled. Not to mention the fact that they couldn't hit threes. While the Heat on the flip side, I mean, they hit, 50% from 3.
Yeah.
They were making everything. Martin was great. Everybody. The Heat basically used 7 players in this game, and everybody chipped in. And, I think that was basically the difference in the game.
We were talking a bit about defense right before we went on air, and we both came up with the same conclusion. How can a team run zone defense in an NBA playoff series and pull it off over and over again? You have to give credit to Coach Eric Spoelstra here. So take a look at the zone defense here of the Miami Heat. Is there anything that makes it special, makes it different, that gave a high-octane team like the Boston Celtics so much trouble?
Well, one thing they have are guys who are dogs on defense. You got Jimmy Butler, Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, and then they also have some length in their wings. But I think the most important thing with a zone is you got to have guys that buy into it. And the Heat clearly have bought into their zone. I mean, it's a bit of a matchup zone, the funky zone, but it just fits into the tendencies and the scouting report of how they want to defend the opposing players. And the way they put it all together is just great. I mean, you don't see many teams really struggle against the zone. You'd expect at such a high level the NBA teams would be able to make the right adjustments, the right counters. But again, in that zone, I mean, they wanted to give up the 3-ball, and the 3-ball just deserted Boston in this game. And actually for the series, to be honest, Tatum and Brown really struggled from the outside. They didn't shoot well, and that was probably a big factor why Miami was able to get past them.
Well, talking about big factors of how Miami were able to get past Boston, we have to give credit to some of the individual performers. Jimmy Butler won the award for Series MVP, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, but it was a close vote. Amongst the 9 voting members of the press, there were 5 who voted for Jimmy Butler. The other 4 went to Caleb Martin. Caleb Martin, obviously with a breakout campaign here in the playoffs for the Miami Heat. And do you think that this was a bit contentious in terms of this decision?
Well, I think Caleb Martin was just great. I mean, anytime you shoot above 50% from 3, I mean, that's just an excellent number. And to hit that many
60.2% from 3.
Exactly, right? And where did he come from, man? This guy even played in the G League. So that's why I gave so much more respect to Coach Spo. Because, man, you look at these guys, they're so unheralded, a bunch of second-round picks. I mean, no big names really except for Jimmy Butler and Bam. and then to get them to play this well at this level is great. But going back to your point, I thought Martin was excellent. He's playing so much better in this conference finals than he did in the regular season. 19 points, rebounding well, and he's just been, he just made big shot after big shot whenever the Heat needed him. Of course, Butler was great the first 2 games, but he was up and down. I think Martin was overall the more consistent player in the series.
So the Boston Celtics had a 3% chance of winning the Eastern Conference Finals before the playoffs. In fact, they lost their first play-in game, and all of a sudden, they're marching on to the finals. Now, right before we move on to a really quick finals preview, Boston Celtics, a lot of people are going to ask, where do they go from here? They were favored to win this one. They were favored to make it all the way to the finals at the very least. Where do they go from here? Do things need to change? Does coaching need to change? What's the solution?
I wouldn't put it on the coaching just yet. Obviously, as a first-year coach, he has a lot to learn. I mean, he's changed. He admits that at times he may have lost the locker room or whatever, however you want to interpret that. I mean, I think he's taken responsibility for that. But you got to look things and put things in perspective. I mean, Jason Tatum's 24 years old, man. I mean, LeBron, MJ, all these guys, Steph, they won their first ring at 27. So they're still young. I thought Jason Tatum could have played better also at times. I mean, obviously he had a great explosion in Game 7 the previous series, but there are also games in the playoffs that he hasn't lived up to the moment. Jaylen Brown looks like a great tandem with him, but again, he also struggled this series. But they also weren't that healthy. Brogdon was hurt, basically. Robert Williams was hurt at times, didn't play like themselves. So, I still think this core has what it takes to maybe win a championship one day, especially if they are able to keep things together. Maybe just add a few pieces.
Commiserations to the Boston Celtics, and hopefully next year will be a better year for them. But we now move on to the finals. Denver Nuggets against the Miami Heat. And the betting lines have already come out in the United States. The Denver Nuggets are favorites going to this one. The most likely scenario, according to Vegas, is that it would be Denver in 5. You take a look at those odds, you take a look at those numbers, Charles. Where do you fall with regards to Miami Heat against the Denver Nuggets? Denver favored, Miami always ignores the odds.
Well, I mean, for them to be at this point, they basically were the underdogs in every series they've been in. And for them to find a way to win, I mean, they're playing without Tyler Hero, man. I mean, he's a big piece of their team. They have a much shorter rotation, and they were counted out basically even before making the postseason, right? But I wouldn't put it past them to win the championship, but my gut tells me Denver's going to find a way to win. It's their year right now. They're a well-oiled machine offensively. They will have too many weapons. I think Jokic will be able to somehow figure out how to bust that zone that the Heat's been doing. And the guys are all clicking from the outside. I mean, the only thing is maybe they've had a long layoff. If Miami can find a way to steal Game 1, and maybe it could change the whole series. But other than that, I think Denver, I mean, it might be their time.
Denver in
5 or 6.
Okay. All right. No, he said 5 first, so we're going with that. Charles, really appreciate you. Hopefully we can have you here more often.
I'd love to. Thank you for having me.
So after the break, we'll hear from the kings and queens of the UAAP Season 85 Street Dance Competition. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game.
Welcome back to the game. The 4-year wait was worth it for España as UST Prime finally brings back the crown in the UAAP Street Dance competition. Let's hear more from the Season 85 champions, Captain Robin Thomas Gavino and co-captains Cristina Isabella Belosilio and Darlo Emmanuel Ilagan. Champs, welcome to the game.
Congratulations, and of course, first of all, what an achievement kasi this is your first ever championship, the Street Dance competition. And I know UST is a school of performers. I've seen it throughout the years in not just Street Dance, of course, cheer dance, and of course, just yung kultura ninyo. Just how special was it winning the championship this time around, knowing that previously, the last time you actually had a Street Dance, 5th place kayo?
Honestly, it's a really surreal feeling. Just having all of the team's efforts of countless days, months of training pay off. It's been unbelievable. It's been an incredible journey for all of us, and honestly, we obtained our ultimate goal, which was winning the UAP Street Dance competition. And as you mentioned, the last Street Dance competition in 2019, Prime placed 5th place. Honestly, this win in many ways was for our alumni, for our seniors who have offered their endless support for all of us throughout all of this. So as much as it's a win for us, it's a win for the USD community, it's also for our alumni and seniors.
Wow, well said. Tina, earlier we were talking about how you guys were still in high school the last time the street dance competition was held. But now you're here, you're the champions, you brought back the gold to España. But historically, the squad has already won a couple of bronze medals. But this year, it's the gold medal. So what difference has it been for your squad so far?
Actually, I was supposed to actually compete in the UAAP in the year 2020, but there was COVID. So, it was cancelled. So, sobrang sayang po yun for me. So, yeah, first year pa ako nun. And siguro the difference, I don't know if there's actually a difference because I know that there's always a hunger for us to win, for us to evolve every time we try to compete, and we try to best ourselves every single time we try to perform. So,
yeah. Alright, Darlo, interesting because na-mention nyo kanina na 3rd year and 4th year, the three of you, but it's also your first street dance competition. Yes. I can only imagine na, okay, you're expected to be leaders of the squad, given yung seniority ninyo. Yes. But, this is also your first competition, at least dito sa street dance, sa UAAP. So, how did you manage to be leaders in a competition that you haven't really experienced yet?
So, maybe with our experiences from our past competitions, like me and Tina, we were prepared and we were trained very well by our coach, Coach Chips Beltran, with handling the team, and we tried our best also in bringing out the best sa members namin kahit first time competitors sila and going from the pandemic batch. We were very well prepared for the competition.
Pandemic batch.
Parang pandemic babies lang yun pa.
Exactly.
Alright, we've been seeing highlights of your performance, and it's very interesting because your theme was very playful, very colorful. Literally. Robin, can you tell us about why was the decision made to be,
Toys,
basically?
So Coach Chips Beltran, our head coach, was the one who ultimately decided on our theme. And as he mentioned before during the street dance competition, the theme really revolved around going back to the roots of what do toys stand for, which is it reminds us of our childhood, simpler times, having honest and genuine, innocent fun. And in many ways, we tried to relate this theme to dance, which was to remind everyone that dancing is fun, and it's something that can be a release and a way to express yourself in many ways. And at the end of the day, we just hope that as much as we had fun dancing this routine, we wanted the audience to enjoy it as well.
And Tina, sinabi kanina ni Robin na this performance was for your alumni, the preparations also for the alumni. How much were they a factor in terms of making sure that, okay, you're ready for this competition in particular? Because I am sure maraming alumni yung bumalik to be able to prepare you for what was to happen.
Yes. Actually, they were super big part of this preparation because not only they were there to actually support us, like cheer for us physically, but they also helped us to give comments on how on where we need to improve more. Kumbaga, nagbigyan pa po sila ng comments sa amin on how could we improve ourselves more, not only as an individual but also as a team. So sobrang big part po yun for our competition. And actually, some of our alumni were also our PAs on the day itself. So,
Really?
yeah, they were the ones who helped us
humble naman nila.
for our costumes and stuff. Kasi as you can see po, sobrang effort po talaga ng costume. So we really needed so much help for that. And thankful po kami sa kanila.
Literally, teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
Darlo, I wanted to ask, kanina sabi ni Robin nga, the theme is toys because we want to bring out the essence of, dancing, yung having fun. Like, with that in mind, like, how important is it na meron kayong platform to showcase, your talents, your inspirations, your passions here in the UAAP?
For us dancers, siguro importante sa amin na nasa-showcase namin yung platform namin, yung passion namin sa platform na UAAP kasi mas napapakita namin yung craft namin and yung hard work namin in putting up such short span of piece na we're working hard for months na mapakita yon sa tao and ayun, maka-inspire ng maraming tao. And,
yeah, absolutely. Inspire a lot of people. I was telling Z a while ago that she's free to dance if she wanted to after watching you guys. But, my God. Robin, now looking at what UST Prime is, you're now a championship squad sa UAAP. Again, very big congratulations to that. How do you plan as captain to make sure that yung standard na yun stays that way? Championship caliber performances every time, especially in the future competitions going forward.
Probably going forward, we just have to trust in our coaches, trust in Coach Chips. Since he's been the head coach of UST Prime since we started in 2016, he's proven himself to be our leader, that he knows what it takes to win, what kind of mindset we need to have. And as much as we look up to our coaches, we also have to have self-discipline for ourselves. We have to make sure we're all level-headed, we're all open to criticism and room to improve. So as long as the members maintain that kind of mindset and humbleness, I believe we're going to be okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Season 85 champs, Robin Thomas Cavino, Cristina Isabel Velosilio, and Darlo Emmanuel Ilagan. Maraming salamat. Congratulations once more. And we can't wait to see your next performances.
Thank you.
Of course, my partner here, Zihar Vash, who did come in. We forgot to introduce you, but you'll still be here after the break. We'll take a look at the new faces in the PVL. Stay tuned. You're watching The Game. Welcome back to The Game. The PVL Invitational Conference is about to welcome a lot of big changes and, of course, a lot of new faces. With us to break down the rookies of the PVL is UAP and PVL analyst Neil Patrick Flores. Neil!
Wow, boom,
I had to whole name that. I had to whole
Ano
name
po yung
that.
pangalan ko?
Oo nga eh. Pero Neil, first of all, thank you very much for joining us. And we were talking a bit off the air that this rookie class feels special. And just why do you feel that as someone who covers both the UAP and the PVL, just how excited are you personally to see this crop of rookies feature in PVL?
Well, there are a lot of rumors circulating on social media. Twitter has been crazy for the past few days. Sunod-sunod yung reveal ng mga rookies for the PVL. But I would say this batch is an excellent batch to say the least because all of the players, incoming rookies in the PVL, they can be starting potential na first six sila agad. So it's very exciting and I know that there are heavy favorites already coming in to this invitational conference.
All right, and speaking of favorites, we have a list here that Neil created na, the rookies to watch out for.
And these are semi-hot takes, by the way.
Semi, not official. Neil official.
Yeah. So we're going to go through the questions one at a time, all right?
Okay.
So the first one here is which rookie is the best fit for the team that they've joined? And Neil, let's let you introduce who you pick.
I chose Jolina de la Cruz of DLSU. She is now with the F2 Logistics Cargo Movers. There were rumors that she was going to go with another team, but she found her way back home to the La Salle system with Coach Remil and Coach Regine Diego. And if you take a look at the roster of F2 Logistics, they already have one first outside hitter na solid na. Myla Pablo is already there.
Right.
And they have been lacking in that attacking department of the second outside hitter. I mean, not to take away anything from their outside hitters, but Jolina de la Cruz is an all-around player. She can defend well, she can serve hard, she can actually get the top scorer position in every team. So I'm very excited on how she will bring her talent this time with F2 Logistics.
All right, Jolina de la Cruz, 10th best scorer in the UAP, 3rd serving, 8th blocking, 9th spiking, 4th receiving. Grabe, top 10 at the very least in all departments, as you mentioned earlier. Speaking of fitting in, next question is, who do you see with the most playing time at this PVL conference?
This was another easy pick
I
for me.
was going to say, this is probably easy one.
Usually I have a hard time choosing the
yeah.
players, but this time it was easier for me. I chose Faith Nesperos of the Akari Chargers. Her UAAP journey didn't end the way she wanted it to be, but I believe that it was a smart choice to move to the pros. All of the teams right now in the PVL, they need to have that one power player. The power player that I am saying, ito yung may one kill, one stop mindset. And she will immediately, I'm already calling it Pao, she will immediately occupy that first outside hitter position. And it's going to be a very tall lineup for Akari.
Yes.
I think that she's also one of the big signups here in this batch.
Yeah, you take a look at Akari, they have the physical measurables for it for sure, and we all know what Faith can bring, so let's see what she can do for Akari. This one's very personal. This next question is very personal. This is your preference. Who are you most excited to see in the PVL?
Amy Hernandez from UST. And I feel like she's already ripe for the pros. When you also take a look at the players of the Cheritigo crossovers, ang dami nilang players right now.
Yeah.
Actually, they have 5 recruits, but I'm very excited to see Amy Hernandez because if you want your wings to be effective, the middle blocker needs to be explosive. Sa Karandang already took up that first middle blocker position, but they need one more. So I feel like Cheritigo was able to acquire all the tools that they need entering this invitationals. And I've heard that they are targeting that gold medal this season.
I mean, who isn't?
Who isn't?
Yeah, okay, but speaking of one tiger, I saw this list earlier, and the question here is, who will give the biggest impact to their team?
It's Aya, the Slayer.
Aya, the
of course.
Slayer.
I mean, she's the top of the class, probably the number 1 pick if we were going to talk
there was
about
a draft?
If there was a
Correct,
draft.
correct.
I would say that she would be the number 1 pick. MVP caliber right off the bat, top scorer. She can also dig and attack well. Kompleto eh. But I think that the biggest factor that she can bring to the table would be her leadership. I mean, she will be alongside her sister EJ Laure, so we might just
that
see the
will
Laure
be
sisters
fun.
Yeah.
back in that position.
Yeah, and just so to calm everyone down, sa mga nagulat sa graphic kanina, yes, there was a mistake in the graphic a while ago about Ea Laure. Now we move on to, well, my personal question for the both of you here actually is that a lot of times rookies come in a lot of expectations, but then should fans temper their expectations for the first few games for the rookies because of the fact that they are rookies seeing action for the first time in the pro leagues?
I think that the expectations right now are more realistic compared to before because yung mga college players natin ngayon, they've been with their universities for quite some time because of the pandemic. So they've had extra years of training, and a lot of these players are also part of the previous national team. So I would say na in terms of gelling with their respective teams, wala na magiging problema. Of course, the basics, the fundamentals are already solid. So the coaches will just really need to find that right seven if they want to get a lot of wins here in the Invitationals.
And of course, I did ask you the same question, but then I'd rather make it a homework and say, please tell me the first thing you tell the rookies as soon as you embarrass them or something. One thing or one way or the other. But then either way, all joking aside, Neil, really appreciate you coming over and giving us your list, even though it was
Appreciate it.
easy for you to pick everything there.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm Zihir Basho.
I'm Paolo De Rosario, and this has been The Game.